welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines with Terry and Mike. Unlike Mike, I'm deep in a bunker in the communist state of Illinois. So I'm in
Yeah.
an undisclosed place, right? Trying to hide. And that's why we have Lisa on. Lisa Moran, who is a Canadian, and she's an author. She was an attorney. She wrote the book called World on Mute, which talks about our free speech, our freedom of speech, and how it's how they're taking more and more of it away from us, right? And that's so important in protecting our country, all of our countries in the world. She's against globalization, the world economic, all the stuff that most of our watchers, it's important to them. The transit agenda, COVID, legal immigration, all this stuff is integrated together. But once you start losing your freedom of speech, then it's going to be easier for them to take control. So, honored to have Lisa on. She's going to share a lot of her thoughts, and a lot of us that watch this show are familiar with these things, but she's going to give us hopefully some new tools. I also want to make mention on this Thursday, Mike and I have Jeremy Brown. So if you're watching this, Google search Jeremy Brown. He was 20 years Green Beret special ops guy, decorated special ops guy that went to prison for January 6th. And then when they went to his home and they trumped up charges, even though Trump pardoned him, they gave him 7 years. After the pardon, they tried to keep this man. He's out. So he's going to be on the show. I'm very honored to have Jeremy on the show. And then next Tuesday, for those of you from Illinois, you're going to be shocked. So you're sitting down. Sheriff James Mendrick is going to be on the show. He's running for governor. Everybody knows that me and Sheriff Mendrick bumped heads big time. And I put that behind us for now. We're going to talk about that and talk about his campaign. I will be out on vacation, so Mickey Scornavacchio is going to be standing in and guest hosting for me, another one of my Pazan buddies. So make sure Thursday and Tuesday. With that said, Mike, you want to say anything before we pass it over to Lisa?
Yeah, I think I kind of just tag on what you said there, that I think taking away free speech, especially when they're not enshrined in a constitution, as we've seen in a lot of countries around the world now, like that's the first domino to fall. If they can control how people communicate, it becomes much easier for the rest of the narrative and their agenda, this globalist agenda we've all been fighting against. It's much easier to push that through if you're controlling how people can communicate and you're controlling the messaging. So even if people are against it, it's more difficult for them to stand because they feel like they're alone. It creates this atmosphere of oppression. But I think that's really something that you did a great job tackling on your book here. Let me pull that up again. Guys, you can go get this on Amazon right now. I'd highly recommend it. Again, we need to support the people that are out there fighting the good fight. So World on Mute. With that said, Lisa, what did I miss? Can you give our audience the rest of your background and kind of tell them what else brought you here with us this evening?
Yeah, I'm so happy to have this evening with you guys and all your viewers. So thank you, first of all, for inviting me and I can be part of this. I'm a lawyer of 26 years, and I did civil litigation. I had my own firm, and I sued the government on a variety of things. Then I went in-house in the auto sector and telecom and IT. So I have a really broad experience. But what I was, everyone was surprised about COVID. But what I started to see is when all the laws around the world are in lockstep, when what's passing is in lockstep. And that's what made me curious. And of all things I thought I'd never see is what I call speech committees. And I want to warn everybody that we're not looking at freedom of speech in the right way right now, because we've never been at this intersection where globalism is going for the jugular on all our nation states. Like, it's going for the jugular, So every way to earn a living, occupationally, like you're hammering nails, you're an electrician, you're a real estate agent, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a chiropractor. Every way to earn a living is being collected. And if you weren't collected before, it's happening now in real time. And then with that, they're all getting these new speech committees. Okay. And this is the things you can't say to keep earning a living. So gotcha. So if you want to earn a living, you have to not say these things. So I realized that this was happening transnationally, globally, and it was happening in all occupations and all at once. And like, what are the chances that this would organically form?
Could
And
you
I
say
wrote,
could you say what a speech committee is? 'Cause
yeah, okay, so a speech committee, like, yeah, I don't know if you guys know the Jordan Peterson case, or, the Dr. Trozy cases, any of the cases where if you say the wrong thing,
Mhm,
then they will hustle you up, put you in lawfare, and, exit you from your profession. So it's
Yeah.
totally social credit. It's social credit, right? And what I realized was, okay, so the courts are upholding these things around the world, and so they're giving deference, what's called deference. They're saying, yeah, that's okay. Doesn't matter
mhm,
that you had a Bill of Rights or a constitution. Doesn't matter what your constitutional regime is.
mhm.
The courts are upholding this. And so I say in the book, you cease to be a citizen the minute you're regulated, and you become a regulated subject. You become a global citizen.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted people to see that we can attack the nation state in ways that don't involve bullets and, don't involve tanks rolling out. And when you have to agree with your party to earn a living, what I say that is communism.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. We've inverted the Constitution. It doesn't matter if it's Canada, the
Yeah,
United States. The ABA went after Trump's lawyers. Now you'll remember that, right?
Yeah.
The ABA went after Trump's lawyers. And I mean, that was lawfare on a scale. That was a
mhm,
huge lawfare. And so what they did is you have this rogue power, right? And this rogue power is taking away everybody's way to earn a living. But when it comes to the lawyers, if you take away all the lawyers, right, that would push back on globalism, that would push back on, pro nation state, free speech, pharma, climate, whatever their globalist gig is, you can actually stop the courts from working. You
Yeah.
can stop, right? And so then you've inverted the Constitution without even having an amendment, without say like, oh, okay, we're gonna have a referendum. So we're gonna install communism. Okay, so when did that all happen? And so I thought, people aren't analyzing this, and it's because we're looking at common law or precedents or statutes, and we're up these narrow arguments. The lawyers are all up these narrow arguments, yet all around the world the same thing is happening. So this must come down. The speech committees in our occupations must come down. And right, they're meant to follow you. So the same speech committees that you have as an adult from one profession to the next, they work at your school boards. They work as anti-bullying policies. They
yeah.
work in your unions, right? So this is a comprehensive cage, and everybody's in bondage. And those people speaking right now are independent
Yeah.
farmers, right?
Well,
Independent business. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, what
Uh,
they're doing is basically bypassing, normally changes like this would go through Congress or go through your state legislature or whatever. But since they're not going to gain any traction there and what they want for pretty obvious reasons, instead they infiltrate various occupations. They use
Mhm,
policies, here we would call it DEI or other things to control speech, regulate what can and can't be said. So now these are extrajudicial. They're outside of the regular legal system. They're instead regulating a profession, whether that's through a committee or an approval board, whether that be the bar or an association for, say, psychologists and psychiatrists. I can never say that right.
yeah.
Like they're talking Jordan Peterson. But it's a way to basically enforce these speech codes outside of the existing law. Now, when it comes to the lawyers, like going after Trump's, and again, they infiltrated the bar association everywhere. And that's a really powerful tool. If all of a sudden somebody that opposes any of this or wants to fight against the system, if all of a sudden they can't fight an attorney because now attorneys are afraid they're going to get their law license taken just for even picking up a case. So that's what's so insidious about this.
yeah,
Yeah.
at
And
least
I, go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, so because we didn't talk too much, and I don't think I shared this with you.
Hmm.
I was placed on a domestic terrorist watch list by the Biden
Hmm.
administration, and we were uncertain